All right, so we've got the Gen 1 prophecy here on Pig's bow. We've got some funky felt tied on here. You probably heard that in that couple of those test shots, a little squeaky. So we're gonna get swapped over here to the new Prophecy QD with the pig hide. Be nice and quiet. And just trust me, I know you look at that and you're like, boy, are you sure that's gonna really do the job well? It does an amazing job, guaranteed. So we're gonna swap over to that, go through the process here. We don't have to go through all the accessory mounting and stuff. We're gonna just take a couple reference points off this rest, make sure we get this one somewhere in the same window, get the QD wedge tied in, and then we'll be back out there shooting some arrows here in about 20 minutes. First step, we're gonna come in here and gently, keeping this very sharp knife away from the cable, cut this cord off because it is ran through the cable.
When you said very sharp knife, I knew it was mine.
Well, my knife isn't overly sharp right now because I'm always stripping arrows with it. I'm just gonna grab a hold right there. Oh, it's actually tied in. All right, that's fine. We're gonna leave that for the bow press.
They served it in?
Yeah. All right, we're gonna come over here, 3/16 Allen wrench, pull this mounting bolt. That isn't even the factory mounting bolt that I sell the rest with. God knows where that came from.
Hey, I can't tell you what they did.
I know.
I mean, you know, Nick, I can't do everything.
You're a busy man. You can do everything, but you're too busy pinching.
Yeah, I shoot animals.
All right, that prophecy's off. Okay. So getting back in here to the Prophecy QD, when you get into your package, you're going to see these two mounting blocks. Now, this is what we refer to as the one-hole mounting block. Reason being, this is for bows that have a single burger mounting hole. It has a built-in level, and then there's a set screw that's in the package in there that goes in your locking set screw hole here. So you'll level the bow vertically, install this, and you won't tighten it down. It'll want to pivot. So you're going to get it snug. You're going to tighten that set screw down, and then you're going to then crank on your 5/16 with a 1/4" Allen wrench in this hole, and then tighten your set screw down. You play that game making sure everything stays level. That way, when you're torque tuning and you're moving your rest forward and back, it's moving in a dead perpendicular plane to the riser. Now, on a lot of the newer bows, they have two burger button holes. So now we can utilize both mounting points. This is what we call the two-hole block, and it's really makes the system simple to work with. So we're going to get over here, get into our bag of goodies. I'm going to try to handle fewer screws this time because my hands are already cold and I don't want to drop everything. Come in here, get this first screw started in this hole. Brian didn't have a screw in that hole earlier, so it's already wanting to argue with me. Here we go again. I'm in the way of the light. I'm not good when in front of a camera, if you can't tell. These guys just make fun of me all day long. We're gonna get that just finger tight. Then we're gonna grab our rest. And I know some people in the hunting world don't like the use of stainless bolts. This particular bolt, the one that holds the rest on, we like to use stainless because it's coming in and out of the riser a lot. We don't want it to get all rusted. Even a rusty bolt into an aluminum riser will try to get stuck. So you can take a marker, color it black, whatever you want to do afterwards. I already know on Brian's bow we could go through the whole torque tuning process, but I do know for a fact that this rest needs to be as far in as we can get it. So we're going to take this all the way into the forward mounting position on number 6. The mounting block's not perfectly centered right now, so we're kind of fighting it a little bit. All right, so we're going to get this in. We're going to come in here on number 6. We already know on an Omen that I want the sight and the rest as close together as we can get. With Brian's IQ sight here, where he's got it mounted, the sight's already as far back as it can go. Rest as far forward as we can go. It'll be this system, his torque tune is going to be as good as we can make it right here. We're not going to be able to do a whole lot better with it without him being able to move this sight in. He already has some custom machined work going here, but we're going to just get it as close as we possibly can for him. Tighten that down. That self-aligns the entire block, and now we can come into the actual screw that's holding the mounting block and really put the stink on that one. We want that as tight as we can get it.
I'd say that's pretty tight.
All right, so we're just gonna take a reference here. We shot a couple bear shafts with this rest when it was on the bow. We already know that we wanted the rest to go left. We can also move this cable, adjustable cable rod in, which we're gonna go ahead and do as well to accommodate some of that. I'm gonna just take a rough reference from the inside of the riser mounting point to the center of the launcher, right there. So we measured this distance from here to here, one of the measuring points on your calipers, and we're at 1 inch, 680-ish thousandths. So we'll just use that for reference. And when we set left and right on this rest, we're gonna go approximately to that same number. I may push it out to 1 inch 700 because we already know we needed to be a little left based on his previous position. So again, just trying to get us close to back to where we were. We're gonna loosen our micro adjust, and I'm gonna push it quite a ways left here. I also know, based on some of the other numbers we were dealing with, that we're gonna move this adjustable cable rod over. So we're gonna pick up a little more cable clearance here, but now we can come in here, find the inside of that riser, and we're still a little bit to the outside. If you can see right in there, we need to bring that launcher over a little ways to accommodate that number. Try to get a little closer to being on center. All right, we're gonna come in here, and while we're in this position, go ahead and adjust this cable rod. If we needed to adjust it out, we would have to put it in the bow press because there's so much tension on the cables. But because we want it to go in towards the bow, all we gotta do is loosen that screw and the bow does it for us. Naturally pulled itself all the way in. We're just gonna tighten that back down. I personally like to try to set all my bows up with this cam system with this rod all the way in. It brings everything in a little better alignment in the cams. It centers on the stop better. It just puts the bow in a functionally better position. All right, so we've already moved our micro adjust pretty far into the left. I want to leave a little micro adjustment left available to it. Now, this adjustment's kind of a pain sometimes using an Allen wrench pack like this versus a singular Allen wrench. But we'll try to get in here. It'll just try to bind up a little bit because of the position of the cables. And get on here, adjust these two screws, and then I'm just going to bump that out a little bit. And we're going to pick up that pair of calipers that we locked into position. Wiggle this guy back into where we know we're on our flat. The set screw. Take that pair of calipers, come in here again. And again, this is just reference. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we're trying to get closer to the middle. And I know if anything, I wouldn't mind it being just a little bit outside of that. My head's in the way of the lighting, but it is what it is. I gotta be able to see. We're gonna wiggle that in. That's all pretty good right there. Come back in. Now the one thing that can happen on this rest is you can maybe not catch the flat perfectly. So you just want to, I like to come down here and eyeball and make sure I see that screw hitting the flat dead square. But we should be pretty great right there. These don't need to be super tight. That is a molded polymer. You don't need to be onto it really hard. Okay, so we're up in the press now. We had cut the old Prophecy off, and we've got this tail left down in here that got tied in. It is nicely marking the center of the cable for us, so that's going to be handy. But it is served in, so we're going to fight with this for a second, getting all this out of here. I'm going to try not to lose the center of that serving. In fact, I think, yep, that slid down. We're going to go ahead and install this wedge right now. We saw this on Junie's bow. So this is the side of the screw. You can see the square on this side. The square is where the insert for your QD end off the rest goes. We want that side facing towards the rest as best as possible. We're gonna take this string that was already split for us from the previous position, slide that in there. We're gonna put a little tension back on everything here, and then we'll get this cut off here in just a minute. If I can salvage that. ready?
Yep.
All right, we got that tail pulled off from the other prophecy. We're actually able to salvage some of the serving here. So now we're just gonna get our QD pin put in here. Again, it's timed. It's got 2 flats on the sides. Drop them in. We already had our retainment screw here. Comes in from the back. Screw that sucker in there. And boom. That is how quick and simple it is to take your rest in and out your cable system. All right, so we've attached our QD point. We're going to come in here, back our timing set screw off on the activation knob. We're just going to pull this up here close, a couple inches. And then we want to set this to where I can just barely pull some string through it, so that when we're setting, we're going to put this bow in the drawboard, and then it'll self-set its timing for us. So, yep, that's pretty snug. Should be just fine. Okay. Coming back in here to the LCA drawboard. As you guys can see, this is just such a great piece of equipment to have. We use it nonstop, whether you're checking timing, confirming draw length. It's just such a handy tool to have. You do want to keep the twists out of it. Trying to get myself organized here. One more rotation. All right, there we go. Little tension there. We're taking our first bit of slack. Okay, make sure the bow is square. Start drawing her back. This one's got a little more oomph. This is 70 pounder, not Junie's 45 pounder. So you will start to hear some pops sometimes with higher load bows. I like to stop and check and see how my cams are tracking. We did move that cable guard in, so we want to make sure that with reduced cam lean, we didn't start having issues where the bus cables are rubbing. The stops aren't hitting, coming through the yokes. And bring her up here, about 1/8 of an inch off there, a little bit farther there. So I'm just into it pretty good there, and we're still a little bit off on the bottom. Brian has said he likes that these are timed top cam ahead, but I think I'm going to go ahead and double check his draw length here, and I think we'll put a twist into this top so his draw length stays the same and bring them closer to neutral. So we're going to jump on here. Again, this is a reference number. It's not his actual draw length. I'm just measuring, taking a reference number to the inside of the D-loop. We're at exactly 28 inches. We're not fully into that stop down there. And that, if he's pulling hard into it, that should be his max draw length there. So right about there. We're not hard into the stop. And we are 28 3/16. So I'm going to come into the top cam. I think I'm going to start with one full twist into the bus cable on that top cam, try to bring this thing closer to neutral. All right, back up in the press real quick. So the top cam's hitting first. I want to delay that cam coming around more, which means I'm going to put twists into that bus cable. So we're going to come in here. And I was only going to do a twist, but I have a feeling it's a twist and a half. So I'm going to go half, 1 1/2. Come back in here. And again, I always start from the bottom. Don't know why, but I'm going to walk back down to the bottom here, and I'm going to do my count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Main string is 5, 6, and 7 on the cable guard. 8 on that yoke. Splitter is 9. This yoke is 10. 11 on that bus cable. Main string is 12. Coming back out. Tension on. Quick cursory glance. Some of this stuff seems so repetitive, guys, but it takes one time not doing it for you to break a limb, bend a cam, or potentially hurt yourself really bad. If something goes really wrong and you have a limb explode or something comes flying out of the bow, bad things happen. So just some of these repetitive processes just keep you, your family safe. A lot of times we're working on bow presses, and if we're at home in our garage, your kids are right there. You know, you get distracted easy. Always have these processes before you take the bow out of the press to be safe. Back into the drawboard again. Make sure you use that safety strap. You don't want to have a D-loop break right now. Making sure this is straight. Tension on. Okay, hold the bow square. We're checking to make sure nothing else is hitting. I didn't mention it before, but the first time we put it in the drawboard, our timing on the prophecy did automatically set. And it is pretty well perfect. Okay. boy, we are really close now. We're just barely, I don't even think we're touching on the top, and we are just barely not touching on the bottom. That twist and a half was pretty well money. We're going to come into it a little bit here using the press up against the stops. We're almost dead even. And we are at 28 1/16 now. Timing's really good. Timing on the Prophecy is set. We're ready to go. We're going to tighten that set screw down, and we're going to go shoot some arrows. All right, we're just going to come in here on our set screw on the Timing on the Prophecy. You don't need to crank it down. Just snug it up. All done. Good to go. Take something rather sharp. We're going to use Brian's fancy knife here. And again, cutting away from everything. Trying to find some workspace. We got bow stuff everywhere here. Cutting away from everything on the bow. I'd rather cut myself than the bow, although this knife might cut more than I want. Done.